sorry, calling to order the zoning board of adjustment of Raritan Township, New Jersey, regular meeting, August 1st, 2024. Notice of meeting. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act has been satisfied by the placing of a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board at the municipal building, filing same with the township clerk, and transmitting same to the Hardin County Democrat, the Courier News, the Star Ledger, and the Trenton Times. Roll call, please.
Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Here.
Vice Chair, Mr. Rasul Damji.
Here.
Mr. Steve Farcio.
Here.
Mr. Randy Block.
Here.
Mr. Jim Ferrero.
Here.
Ms. Lindsay Cool-Brungel.
Here.
Ms. Lorette Cretina.
Here.
Ms. Donna Drews. She is asked to be excused. Mr. James Miller.
Here.
Board Professionals, Board Attorney, Mr. John Drill.
Here.
Township Planner, Mr. Jeffrey Faccarella.
Here.
On behalf of Board Engineer, Mr. Rakesh Darshi, we have Mr. Ryan McCarthy.
You gotta talk loud around here, Ryan.
Here.
Traffic Consultant, Mr. Jay Troutman.
Here.
Township Landscape Architect, Mr. John Morgan Thomas.
Here.
Board Stenographer, Ms. Jackie Clapp.
Here.
And Board Secretary Taylor Vaughn here.
Can I get a motion to excuse Donna Drews?
I'll make a
for-
motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Rasul Damji.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block.
Yes.
Mr. Steve Farcio.
Yes.
Mr. Jim Ferrero.
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay Cool-Brungel. Yes. Ms. Lorette Cretina.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to comments, announcements. Hearing none, moving to distribution and correspondence. Having none, moving to minutes. We have minutes from the Zoning Board of Adjustment, Raritan Township, New Jersey, regular meeting, June 6, 2024. Does anybody have any comments or corrections or additions? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second. Can I get a roll call, please?
Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Rasul Damji.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block.
Yes.
Mr. Steve Farcio.
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay Cool-Brungel. Yes. Ms. Lorette Cretina.
Yes.
Mr. James Miller.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to meeting minutes from the Zoning Board of Adjustment, Raritan Township, regular meeting, June 20th, 2024. Any corrections, additions, or comments? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
It was just you and Rasul, so that meeting was just you and Rasul.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay.
Moving on to the resolutions. We have one resolution for this evening. Raritan Township Board of Adjustment, Carlo Vitale, Block 40.04, Lot 15, 15 Buchanan Way, application number BOA-18-2023, resolution memorializing approval of a C2 hard surface coverage variance to allow a hard surface coverage of 39.12% on the property. Resolution number 2024-05, version 2024-07-30-V3. Anyone having any additional corrections or additions?
Taylor, can I vote on that?
No.
I didn't think so.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Second.
Can I get a vote, please? I'm sorry, roll call.
Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Rasul Damji.
Yes.
Mr. Steve Farcio.
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay Cool-Brungel. Yes. Ms. Lorette Cretina.
Yes.
Mr. James Miller.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the applications for this evening. I'm going to go to the second one first. Okay, BOA case number 13-2024. Applicant is Rafael and Alicia Bodas. Location is block 71.20, lot 25. 11 Phipps Court. Applications for a C variance for proposing a deck in the rear yard setback and exceeding 40% maximum impervious coverage surface. I see I have a letter here from the attorney, but
Also the attorney's here, so why don't we ask Mr. Bloomberg to enter his appearance and then read his letter into the record if anything said. If anyone has any questions, that we hear tonight.
I can't hear you, John.
Oh, sorry.
Gotta speak up.
Even though, no, microphone's off again.
Just hold the button until it's green.
How about now, Jackie?
Better.
What I said was that Mr. Grunberg had sent a letter in today, but since he's here, I suggested he enter his appearance, he read his letter, because in his letter, he offered to answer any questions, and he's here, so maybe people have questions.
Good evening, Stephen Grunberg Law Office. On behalf of the applicants, Alicia and Rafael Bustos, I'll just read my August 1st letter. Dear Taylor, this office represents Alicia and Rafael Bustos in connection with the above application. After due consideration, the applicants respectfully withdraw their application without prejudice that is pending before the Board of Adjustment this evening and will not be proceeding to public hearing. As you know, I will be in attendance on another matter should the board have any questions. Very truly yours, me.
Anyone want to know why they're withdrawing it? You can ask them.
sure.
The HOA objected to the variance request and had indicated that they were going to appear this evening.
I
and my
can't hear
client
you.
decided- The HOA withdrew, had indicated that they were going to object to the variance application this evening through council. And in light of that, my client has decided to withdraw the application without prejudice in order to be able to see what they can do to make the HOA happy. But we didn't want to waste the board's time on that.
So in other words, you're going to try to get things settled or get an approval from the HOA and then come back and not vice versa.
Correct.
Okay,
We realized that even if the board would grant an approval, it would have been conditioned upon
That's right.
satisfying the HOA.
yeah,
And if we can't satisfy the HOA in one way or another, then we're wasting everybody's time here. But we want to reserve our right to potentially come back if variance relief is still required.
that's great, because that's the one question I did have open. And so I
Yeah.
want to ask generally, going forward, if this situation comes again,
So-
can we,
Well, put it this way, under the municipal land use law, the board cannot say, we're not going to hear a variance
Okay.
unless the HOA approves it.
okay,
The board can say, if we grant the variance, it's
Yeah.
going to be subject to HOA. You gave me this microphone on purpose to have it cut off to see how many times Jackie could get mad at me tonight.
Gotta keep it short.
So that's true. So this applicant's making a smart decision,
okay,
but he would have had the right to potentially waste his money.
okay.
Leave that there. She'll get me a new mic.
Yeah, is there anyone from the public on for this application? Okay, so we can move forward. There's nothing we have to vote on or anything.
No, because the hearing hasn't started under the board rules, they can unilaterally withdraw. And it
Okay,
is without prejudice, they can reapply.
okay. Moving to the other application for this evening, BOA case number 08-2023. Applicant is Hunter and Storage, Inc. Location is block 63.01, lot 13, 177, Highway 202, 31 South. Applications for a D variance for outdoor vehicle storage at existing storage facility. Good evening.
Good evening, Stephen Grunberg Law Office, on behalf of the applicant, who is Jessica Nicholson of Hunter and Storage. This matter had previously been scheduled before the board a couple of times. The last time it was put off because I was sick, and I apologize for that. The board had previously confirmed jurisdiction and so that notice was previously accepted by the board. This is our application for an amended approval in order to have one of the concrete pads that was supposed to have a self-storage building on it converted to outdoor storage. We still want to develop the other concrete pad as a self-storage building.
And that's the problem right now, because the application as submitted in the notice talks about the amended site plan approval to take out part of one of the concrete pads and put in the outdoor storage with the D1 variance. But the application, as I read it, and the notice as I read it, does not talk about seeking an amended site plan approval to again apply for the buildings on the other pad, because the approval for that other pad with the buildings on it expired over 10 years ago.
And while I understand what Mr. Drill is saying, I think the intent of the application was to amend the prior approval, which included all of the buildings that we are still seeking to do, except for the one concrete pad. And in fact, your own professionals, when they reviewed the application, had questions about the timing of the construction of the other self-storage building and and reflected it in their review reports.
Right, just not to interrupt, but that was, all their reports came in prior to Jeff's March 20th report. I don't think they were aware of the fact that the other approvals expired, because what you attached to your application were the resolutions that granted up to the 2 stories. You didn't attach any other resolutions. Jeff then went into the file and found out that there were 3 additional resolutions, which he notes in his March 20th memo, and that clearly indicate that those prior approvals expired. So the board experts were not aware of this, because other than myself, none of these board experts were around, maybe except for John Thomas, at the time of the underlying approvals. How many board members, I know Cynthia was here, how many
That was
board
it.
members were here at the time of the underlying approval?
That's it. I looked at the members.
So maybe in good faith in your mind, this was a phase 1 and a phase 2 development, but even the plans don't say phase 1, phase 2. I'm looking at sheet 4 of 6 of the site and vehicle circulation plan, and there's a note,
I'm sorry.
and there's a note. Battery's dead.
You gotta hold it.
I'm gonna take that out of my. Get closer to you. There's a note on sheet 4 of 6 with an arrow to the long pad to remain that says existing future building concrete pad site. It doesn't say phase 2. It doesn't reference this amended approval. So again, the board experts at the time they did reports had no idea that the underlying approvals expired. You know, approvals run with the land, except if there's an express provision that they expire, and they're null
Again,
and void.
we're seeking an amendment of the prior approvals, and Jeff's March 20th report, where he does forward that resolution 2013-05 resolution, indicated in paragraph 6, the applicant shall testify to the phased approach to the additional pad. A new D4 variance will be required for expanding the regulated FAR of 15%, which is not applicable because we're not going over the 15%
And then
threshold.
when I saw that on March 20th, on March 21st, I sent you an email and I copied Jeff and Rakesh and John Thomas. And I said, Steve, I know that the attached memo with attachments was emailed to you yesterday, but please make sure to read it, especially resolution number 2013-05, which gives a very good and short summary of the history of the approvals and makes it clear that the extension of the approvals ran out on December 31, 2014. As such, I will be suggesting at this evening's meeting, which was back on March 21st, that the additional concrete pad that is proposed to remain be removed as a condition of any approval. The other pad is proposed to be removed to make way for the paved outdoor storage. I will also be suggesting at this evening's meeting that a condition be imposed on any approval that the enhanced stormwater management regulations be applied in this application, even though they are technically not required if the application was for permitted use before the planning board. So again, I gave you my legal opinion on March 21 that they had expired. So
But
this is how I
again,
see-
that was with respect to also your email was the D4 variance issue and whether we
if
needed
you
a
looked at the
D4.
res, yeah,
Well,
but if
let
you
me
looked at the
just
res,
finish,
no,
John.
no.
You- look,
Okay, go ahead, go
I'd
ahead.
like to be able to
Go
talk
ahead,
too.
go ahead.
It was with respect to the D4 variance issue and whether we needed a D4 variance or whether jurisdiction could be transferred to the planning board when we have, I have your letter.
But it doesn't mention D4 variance in.
Yeah, but
All the approvals from that resolution expired. That would include site plan approval. I don't mention the D4.
But that's what Jeff's memo mentions, and that's what the import of all of his memo was the
That's
D4
why I
variance.
sent an email the next day. All I can say is, Steve, I have no problem if you start the D1 use variance tonight. But to me, you don't have a notice that you want to reinstate, so to speak, or apply again to put buildings on that other pad. There's no one here in the public. That's one of two reasons. Either really they don't care about the site at all, which is possible, or they don't care about the outdoor storage, but if they knew that additional buildings were going up, maybe they would care. I don't know.
We need to have the additional building on that concrete pad. We need to be able to maintain that approval, that ability to pursue that approval, and as well as the outdoor storage on that concrete pad. So if there's a determination that we need to notice for that issue,
If you-
I don't feel comfortable going forward on just a D1 aspect because we're not abandoning this
I understand. I'm
self-storage.
saying you could start the D1 tonight and then renotice and continue at the next hearing session, because you're the only one up. And it's just bad luck. When you get the whole night, you haven't taken them lately, so maybe just take this one and start it. But in my opinion, there's no notice for the board granting an amended site plan approval to put buildings back on those pads when the underlying site plan approval expired by the terms of the variance over 10 years ago.
So as long as we feel comfortable knowing that we're going to renotice and come back at another meeting in order to be able to present testimony as to that self-storage on the other pad, then we'll proceed forward with our testimony tonight, at least to get started.
For the use variance, only for the outdoor storage of vehicles.
Yeah, but we're going to present site testimony with respect to the site.
Right, site testimony that's shown on these plans, but not mentioning anything that hasn't been noticed for. Because if you do, that will be a problem.
Okay, John,
So then
don't
after,
talk about anything about the other self-storage.
With that microphone.
I'd like to call Mr. Hanson.
Is the board all right with proceeding in this fashion, letting them start up on the D1?
yes.
And then they're gonna renotice?
Well, I shouldn't just answer for everybody. I think we have enough applications on the plate that anything we can get through tonight, we should.
I agree.
Yeah, so do I.
Okay.
Mr. Hanson needs to be sworn.
Okay, and all the board experts have to be sworn. So let's have all the board experts raise their right hand. The ones that are here can stand up. So Jeff, John Thomas. Okay, so does everyone swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And let's start with the Zoom people. So John, yes?
Yes.
Jeff, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Hanson, can you give the board the benefit of your qualifications?
Sure. My name is John Hanson. Last name is Hansen. With engineering and land planning, we're a division of AKRF with our main offices in Manhattan, our local office here at 140 West Main Street, High Bridge, New Jersey. I'm the vice president. I'll give you a little of my qualifications. I've been here many times in the past, but I've been licensed as a professional engineer in New Jersey since 1999. My license is in good standing. I've also been licensed as a professional planner since 2000. Again, my license is in good standing. And I've been before this board and I've testified both as an engineer and a planner on a number of cases, probably the last 20 years.
And I offer Mr. Hanson as an expert in both the fields of.
I'm having
engineering
trouble
and
hearing.
I offer Mr. Hanson as an expert in the fields of engineering and planning.
We'll accept.
Thank you.
Mr. Hanson, if you could just put that mic a little up.
How was that? Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, hold on.
I know Taylor went running out real quick.
Good luck, Steve.
Taylor ran out there doing.
Well, she just went to get batteries.
Oh.
I think it's air conditioning.
Ducks.
Okay. I guess we gotta live with it.
Got a cat in the fence. Okay.
Let's keep on going and just try to ignore it. To the
Okay.
best of our ability.
Yeah, Mr. Hanson, if you could just speak a little bit louder. No one's worried.
Okay, should we start? Oh, there we go. No?
Thanks, James.
It was a mouse.
If you could orient the board to the site.
Okay, so I have just marked an exhibit, A1, it's called Aerial Imagery Exhibit. It's dated March 19th of this year. And essentially, it's an aerial photograph of the subject site and the surrounding area. North is to the top of the page, south is to the bottom. And so the point of this is to show the...
Hold up 1 sec. Is this Steve sent in? No, that was on the other application that he sent in the exhibits. Okay. You have small copies of these to pass out to the board or not?
I do with it in packets with other stuff, so why don't I just do that
And
now?
I do have the digital copy, so just
Right.
give me a minute.
Well, can you, give us the whole packet?
Right.
And have him go in order of the packet?
We'll mark the packet exhibit A.
So tell me, where is A1?
This is A1.
A1. The top one is A1. Rest is just photograph.
I understand, but if you're gonna show all the photographs, then we'll just start marking A1, A2, et cetera, right
It's
through.
just gonna,
You know what?
that A1 and the whole packet is A2. Rather than.
Maybe more difficult to do that. Maybe we just go one at a time.
Is
here.
what you have up there this?
What I have up there is this first page.
Right,
Okay.
that's demonstrative. You don't, if you submit this, you don't have to. I understand, this whole thing is A1. That's what I'm saying. This is A1.
Okay.
That thing up on the board is nothing. That's just a big picture of the title sheet.
Okay.
The packet that he's gonna hand out is A1.
Thank you.
He's got a large copy of the first sheet of the packet up on the board. A1 is the aerial imagery exhibit with attached pictures. How's that? Jackie, did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Taylor, do you have a digital copy of this whole packet?
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
I love it.
Everybody good?
Almost. I see the air conditioning is not. Okay, Jackie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Steve?
So John, why don't you take the board through the site?
Okay, so again, we've got A1 up here. This is block 63.01, lot 13. This property fronts on Route 202/Route 31 southbound. The tract consists of one tax lot, and it's about 6.8 acres. It's been developed for about the last 20 years. The property is located in the B5 Low Intensity Highway District. So what I wanted to do here is just show and give a little bit of a note on the surrounding area. You have to the north of the site adjacent is the DMV site. To the south adjacent to the site is the Marvec Building Materials. And then up and down the corridor here are different car dealerships, which I'm sure the board is aware of if you travel that area. So what you'll see in the aerial photograph here is that particularly on the Marvec site here, there's significant outdoor storage. During the photograph here, which was back from 2020, you can see there's also Avis trucks that were stored here in the front of the property. The dealerships all have some level of outdoor storage, and the outdoor storage is the cars for display. So I just think that's an important point as we move forward here, that kind of establishes what's on the corridor, what's adjacent to our site, and what you see as you drive down. So a couple of things about our site, I think it's important to show that, since it's been around for 20 years, the landscaping is mature, landscaping's grown in. It's a very well-maintained site, frankly. We have a lot of clients where we look at the sites and they're not as in good shape. This client has maintained the site. They've done crack filling on the pavement. They maintain the fence. They maintain their buildings. And the buildings are, constructed of metal, and they're also colored brown. So it's a light brown storage, and then the doors are brown. So that's kind of important because it, is a earth tone type structure that kind of blends into the background. So that's A1. What I also want to do is mark another exhibit. It's not part of the stuff that was brought in there. I call this A2.
Okay, hold on for a second. Was that submitted to the board before or not? Okay.
You're gonna call it A2 or A3?
Well, no, we're going to call it A2, but when are you going to go through the photos in A1? Later?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have copies of A2 to hand out?
No.
All right, just give me a minute. I will take a picture and I'll put it up on the screen.
Okay, can you move that? There's no one in the public. Can you move the whole easel after Taylor takes the picture to the center here so we can see it, and the board members on the far end, like Mr. Miller, who is straining even to see Taylor, gets to see the exhibit.
Yeah, I had to turn this way so I can see.
Right.
At least I get the TV.
Yeah. What is exhibit A2?
Okay, exhibit A2, get the microphone.
You have a microphone right up on. Leave the microphone, John. Leave the microphone alone. You have a microphone right there. On the wire. It's not going to make all sorts of noise when you move your hand.
So A2, okay, is the prior approved site plan that was approved by this board 20 years ago.
What's the date of that?
And this is by Golden Bound Bale. This is sheet 3 of 14. It's called site plan, and it's last revised 12/5/2003. So the reason I brought this up is a couple of things. What's noted in the reports is that the parking doesn't match what's required in the zone, and that the impervious coverage of the property as it exists now doesn't comply with the zone. But what you'll see here is essentially, this is the standards at the time. So at the time that this was approved, this site had 40% impervious coverage was permitted. And they built 39.8, which is exactly what exists now. Also on the approved plan was 4 parking spaces. And so they built the four parking spaces that was approved. So I think it's important that the board understands that when you read the reports, you might think that maybe they either built more than they should have, or they didn't build it the way it was supposed to be built.
I
But
don't
they,
think anyone thought that.
but they did. Okay, and
What's
they
the-
built
what
it exactly
resolution?
the way it was supposed to.
What's the
be built.
resolution number that approved this site plan?
That I don't have.
It's got to be 2003 something.
Dash 10.
What, Jeff? 2003-10?
Yes.
You okay to move forward?
Yep.
Okay, so any questions on A2?
And Resolution 2003-10 is attached to the application. Mr. Grunberg attached that to the application. Can you take that out, Mr. Grunberg, and just read the heading on that resolution 2003-10?
Wait, before you do that, can you guys even see that on the screen?
I can.
Well, those on Zoom, so
Yes.
like, it's clear?
Yes.
Okay,
Taylor, you know what? If it's clear enough, let's print out a copy of your picture tomorrow, stick it in the file for them, A2, and also put it in the Google Drive.
well, wouldn't I be taking that?
Yeah, you're going to take that, but I want to have a digital copy also.
I don't have a copy of that resolution with me.
Grab the application file, get the variance application. Steve attached to the variance application 3 resolutions. 2003-10 is attached to it. I just want to see what the heading on that one is. You have it here? Okay, I got it right here. 2003-10. Pull it down so I can. This was the preliminary and final site plan for construction of the mini warehouses after the bifurcated D variance. This is before the second story. Is that correct, Mr. Hanson?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
It appears to me that resolution 2003-10, which would have approved what you showed on exhibit A2, was the bifurcated preliminary and final site plan for construction of the mini warehouses prior to the application for the FAR variance to put the second floor on. Does that show single story or double story?
Double story.
That's double story?
2 of the buildings, 2 of the 6 are shown as 2-story buildings.
I didn't get that.
Scroll down to the next resolution. Right here. It could be, so it's not 2003-10 that approved that. It's resolution 2003-23 that approved that. Resolution 2003-23, that one granted the D4 floor area variance and amended preliminary and final site plan approval to permit the addition of second stories to certain of the previously approved warehouse buildings.
I don't believe anything was approved in 2003. You said 23.
2003-23. It's not 2003-10. It's 2003-23 is the resolution that would have approved exhibit A2. Is that correct, Mr. Hanson?
That's correct.
Okay, keep on going then.
Okay, so our proposal, I have the plans that have been submitted to the board up before you, so you can see sheet 3, which is the site plan. So what we're proposing to do is demolish 10,846 square feet of one of the concrete pads for which was intended to build a building, but was not built. It's been sitting there for 20 years. So that's less than 1/4 acre. We're proposing to remove that portion of concrete and construct pavement in its place, keep the remaining 1,800 square feet of concrete there, and use that paved area. We want to stripe it, number it, and use that as another offering for the facility for outdoor storage.
Okay, just quickly, why do you have to remove the concrete? Why can't you just stripe the concrete? Why spend all the money to remove that concrete and then put blacktop down?
Well, the concrete's been built in stages, so it steps. So it's not.
It's raised?
It's raised and stepped. The units were constructed out there so that there's a few inches of depth between
Okay, I get it.
multiple units. So could it be done and could you cordon it off? Maybe you could, but we felt that it's a safer alternative to remove the concrete and construct the pavement.
In fact, is that shown on one of the photographs attached to A1, the steps?
Yeah.
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 Can you direct the board to? It's the 7th sheet of Exhibit A1, it looked like a shadow to me, but it's not. It's steps in the concrete.
That's correct. Should be the 7th sheet of A1. So the proposal is to have a maximum vehicle length of 35 feet or angled parking. You may notice also on the sheet that we had an alternative viewport for parking cars of a smaller size, and they would be at a 90-degree angle. So after further consideration, our clients, not pursuing that flexible striping. We just want to stripe it in an angled space. We can have, larger vehicles such as recreational vehicles or boats. So there can be no parking on the remaining concrete slabs, as I said. We're not proposing any additional lighting.
Right, and for now, as reflected on sheet 3 of 6, for this evening's purposes, the other concrete pad, existing concrete is proposed to remain.
That's correct.
And that's all we're going to say about that for tonight, right?
That's correct. So, we're here for a use variance because outdoor storage is technically not permitted in the B5 zone.
Before you get to, do you want to go through the photos of A1 and explain the site, the way it looks?
Okay, the second photo of A1 is the sign. It's an existing freestanding
The
pylon
second
sign.
sheet, you mean the second sheet?
Correct. It shows the sign 100 in storage 2 Flemington. That's the site identification sign. That's not changing. That's staying the same. You see on the next page or sheet, you see the reserved parking sign, which was intended as part of the approved project. Underneath it is a 2x2 private property, no parking sign. So that's part of our application. Technically, that was not part of the original application, so we'd like to include that in any approval the board would
I don't
give.
understand. What does that mean?
Well, it's a sign, right? It wasn't approved as part of the original
Is it
site
shown on
plan.
the site plans you submitted the sign?
I don't think it is.
Okay, so listen. You're gonna revise the plan, you submit it next time, because you're asking them to approve the sign and not showing where the sign's going?
What's the square footage?
What's the square footage of the sign?
It's 2x2, it's 4 square feet.
Where is it?
Okay. The next sheet in our photographs is another sign that's on the fence. The fence is on the entrance to the property. This is the movable fence that lets you in and out of the facility. And basically, it's a safety sign just to make sure that people don't touch the fence or get in the way.
Did you answer John's question about where the sign is?
Where the sign is on the property?
Yeah.
Yeah, the sign's right under the handicap sign,
Okay, where's the handicap sign?
right behind the handicap space.
Where's the handicap space?
That are right in the northeast corner of the site.
Thank you.
Thank you. So back to this photo here, the warning sign and the emergency phone number signs. That's the warning sign is 1.5 square feet. The emergency phone number sign is 1 square feet. They're both located on the sliding
So
gate.
are these signs like they're not allowed till you want them to approve them? Or is this something you can go to the zoning officer and get an approval?
The zoning officer raised the issue of the signs on site. So where we provided information with respect to the location and where the signs were and we're providing testimony in terms of the size of the signs.
This shows the signs on the fence. Where is that on the site plan? Can you show us on sheet? What, you have sheet 4 up there?
It's at the entrance of the site where the gate is. It's the northeast corner of the site again. The entrance to the site.
I can't hear.
The The entrance to the site's in the northeast corner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And the gate is about 20 feet in from the edge of Route 202.
This is on the gate that moves?
That's correct.
Just to address that, signs on fences or, I guess, the gate is not permitted.
Understood.
You can put it on a post right next to it. So, make yourself a note, because when you're coming back, just revise it and show where things going to go if you're going to propose it.
I think we'll talk about it at the next meeting, but I think it's most appropriate on the moving gate.
All right, so then you need some sort of variance, you figure it out. It sounds like it's some sort of C variance. Probably if it's more visible or whatever, I assume you're going to have a C2 argument, but figure it all out, and bring it back so you know what you're doing with it.
Okay, the next photograph shows a walk-in gate, and that's on the walk-in gate, which is directly to the left of the gate I just mentioned, just south of the gate I just mentioned. That's 1.5 square feet. And again, that's located on the fence. The next photograph, the next sheet, is a view of the site from Route 202, generally the center of the site. And the purpose of this is you can see the expanse of lawn in front of it. You can see the columnar landscaping that's in the distance, and then you see the units behind that.
So the units that you're seeing are the ones that are currently built closest to the road. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so what you don't see, obviously, there's another pad that we're talking about. You want to leave it there for now, and that's between the units that we see and those trees.
That's correct.
You know how many feet from the trees that pad you want to leave is? You don't have a landscape plan here, right?
I'd say it's approximately 60 feet.
And how many feet from the trees to the existing building that you see in the picture?
About 80 feet.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right. If the pad is 24 feet, 8 inches wide, and there's an aisle, if the existing building is 80 feet away from the trees, the pad's got to be closer than 60 feet to the trees.
Front of the pad that's existing is about 60 feet, and the front of the units from the vegetation is approximately 100 feet, as scaled on the A1. So the next photograph is the one that we started talking about. This is the existing concrete pad that's to the west of the units that are closest to Route 202. And what you see here is a photograph looking south along the concrete pad that shows the steps in the pad.
To be clear, this is the pad in between the two built units, correct?
That's correct.
You can see the two built rows of units in the picture, right?
You can. The next photograph is taken from Route 202 at the northeast corner of the site, looking into the entrance of the site. And so what you see there is not only the entrance, the pin pad that gets you into the entrance, the parking spaces on the right-hand side, and then the units in the background.
So I see in that picture the walk-in gate sign on the walk-in gate. I don't see the warning and the emergency phone number sign on the gate. Do you?
That's because the gate is open and the gate is pulled to the right. When the gate opens, it moves to the right.
Okay. So it's not on the left-hand side of the thing, it's on the right-hand side of the gate.
It's on the gate and the gate moves to the right.
So just for clarification, there is a car there where the moving is, and I see something little there. Is that the sign?
I think, well, what you're seeing is the walk-in gate sign that's
Right.
basically over the footprint of that existing vehicle. Yeah. So the next photograph is at the southeast corner of the site. Looking at the site, what you notice here is that it's a significant grade uphill from Route 202. You see the mature landscaping, and you'll notice that you don't see from this angle point, you don't see the units, although they're in the background behind that landscaping. The next photograph is slightly north, looking in the same direction, approximately 30 feet to the north. And you can see the landscaping in the front, but you don't see the units in the back, although they're there.
When you come back to talk about the other thing that we're not talking about tonight, can you do these two photographs in some sort of simulation for whether or not you would see any structures if they were on that front path? And if so, what type of landscaping you would propose? Because that's what John Thomas is going to ask.
Okay.
Also, those long, narrow, high trees, is this just out of season and they don't have leaves on them, or are those dead?
Yeah, this is taken in March when we were originally planning on being before the board. So those trees, if you go by today, they have vegetation, they're green. So the last photo is about another 30 feet up Route 202. Same perspective, you're looking west into the site. The units are behind. And so the important point here is that you don't see the units.
Why don't you talk a little bit about the site operation and what type of vehicles are going to be stored on site?
So what we would anticipate is, your type of vehicles that are recreational type vehicles, motorhome, camper, small boat, those types of things. There'll be no mechanical fixing of vehicles on site. There'll be no work on the bodies of the vehicles. They're there just to be stored primarily by private residences. So, the idea is that if you have this taking up space in your driveway, you could rent a space here, pull it in and store it here.
And the vehicles will be required to be registered and insured?
That's
I
correct.
can't hear you, Steve.
The vehicles will be required to be registered and insured?
That's correct.
There will be no washing of the vehicles or maintenance or working on the vehicles on site, correct?
That's correct.
Will there be any contractor vehicles, or this is just, residential homeowner type vehicles, meaning, plumbing trucks, electrician's trucks, in other words, a place for a contractor to park their vehicles?
We would anticipate the option of having some commercial vehicles being on site.
Like landscaping vehicles with trailers, those type of things?
Right, small vehicles, nothing with hydraulic lifts or anything like that, but small contractor type vehicles. Similar situation is, things that wouldn't be normally permitted in a residential zone, but would be better served in a location like this.
But other than the outdoor parking of vehicles, there's not going to be any outdoor storage. And if the board granted this use variance, I assume you would accept the condition, no outdoor storage, just overnight parking of vehicles, correct?
Correct. To your point, there would be no materials, sand, bricks, anything that a contractor would use, plumbing supplies.
But stuff
Nothing.
could be on a trailer as long as it's not on the ground,
That's
correct?
correct.
So, question about the size, and I'm more interested in the height compared to the existing storage facilities. How can I visualize that from a height?
In other words, what he's asking, when you drive 202 south to
Yeah.
get to the building, from Somerset County, you pass that equipment storage yard with the cranes and you have a limit, what maximum height limit of a vehicle would you agree to here so no one could see them over the top of any of the storage buildings?
We'd agree to a height of 14 feet.
How high are the buildings?
The buildings are about 9 feet.
So why wouldn't you agree to a height limitation of 9 feet?
Because the buildings and the angle of Route 202 give you a perspective that blocks more than just 9 feet.
So when you come back next time, can you bring a site drawing to show that, to show a driver, whatever the engineering standard is, 3 feet high, looking up at the site, and then figure out how high a vehicle could be and not be seen?
We will.
And this is John Thomas. If I could add to that, I think the view going northbound on 202, further down the road, looking up toward the site, because there's a bend in the road where you're looking basically straight at the site. And I think if you could bring something that would demonstrate the visibility from that point would be helpful.
Can you be more descriptive? Because the property, obviously, as any property does, it changes with grade throughout the traveled frontage. So would you like the position from the north frontage or from the south frontage or from the middle?
I'd like the position from the northbound lane of Route 202 south of the site, looking toward the site. Because of the bend in the road, there's a view to the site that's, I'll call it an extended view. If you're going northbound, you're not looking quite straight at it, but it's the most visible. That's where the site's the most visible.
And when you do the site drawing, you want to use the existing building as your barrier, not a proposed building, because when you come in next month or whenever for the proposed building, who knows when it's going to be built?
Understood. So I think really that's, unless you have questions, since we're not going to get into the D variance testimony or anything else.
No, you're
tonight.
going to get into the D1 use variance testimony.
Nah,
Absolutely.
I don't think we
I
are.
think we gotta
No.
get the whole thing together
Oh.
before we present any planning to.
Do we want to talk about, Jay, the traffic or the movement of those vehicles?
Yeah, we could discuss that. I did put that in my memo. I see that there's a revised drawing with on-site vehicle circulation now shown. Unfortunately, I had the prior plan for some reason. I'm going to get a copy of that before the next meeting.
The only
Okay.
reason I have the
So I
revised
have a
one
question on that.
is because the revised one was sent digitally. The board members don't have the revised paper either. I don't know why.
No, that could be my fault. I misplaced all my
No,
documents.
I didn't see that.
Oh, okay.
But and that's my question, because what I heard today was, if I recall, what was in the plan, is the size of the cars. And there was some issue about how do you get in, you have to back up on 202, and all that was in his report.
Yeah,
So
it
that's why
wasn't-
I was a little confused.
Yeah, it wasn't 202, it was internal to the site.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
get in and back
They're
out
they're
and
already
all that.
inside the site, and it's actually just one of the deepest spaces at the very south end. You're not left with much room to make a one move.
Yeah,
Well, Jay-
maneuver.
so given the description of the types of vehicles which are gonna be in that, would that be an issue?
No, I mean, here's how these places work. For any of you who own a boat or wrecked vehicle and you store it somewhere, you probably know this. You wouldn't sign up and buy one of these, lease one of these places until you're sure that your vehicle is going to fit in there and that you can get in and out. The way this is designed, it's angled parking and it's pull through.
Yeah.
Okay, so you would come, you would make an appointment, you would check out the place, you would say, okay, well, I've got a 15-foot wide or 15-foot long camper. I'm going to come in before I rent this place for a year. I'll make sure it works. And you're going to circulate the site and you're going to do it. So that's how it would work. And I wouldn't anticipate that you're going to have any situation where somebody is going to be essentially caught in a spot and can't get out.
Okay.
It just doesn't happen in places like this.
Well, here's a question, and I don't know if it's a question because I don't have a large vehicle and I don't rent these places. If it was completely full and there was a fire, do we need to be concerned about a fire truck getting in and out? And I don't know, so I'm just asking.
Can I ask a question then? Is the
Can you answer
width
that one
of,
first?
right, is the width of the parking slots as proposed any wider than the building would have been?
No, it's under the footprint of the footprint of the building. So
Okay, so then that means,
Presumably, that was reviewed.
For the fire.
right, so that means you
Yes.
would have had the previous review from the fire marshal. that-
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And the fire marshal had no comments in
Yes.
connection with our application as part of this review.
Understand.
And it's not a matter of somebody not being able to get in or out. It's just a multi-point turn for a certain space that I was pointing out. So you,
Yeah, and-
you would just have to do a 3-point turn instead of just one maneuver.
And I could impose a condition that says vehicles shall not extend over the striped parking spaces.
That's acceptable.
That would ensure that they wouldn't interfere with emergency vehicles, right?
Okay,
Yes.
That's a good idea.
all right, thank you.
So Jay, is there any other comments in your report that you'd like to discuss?
No,
I have a question, but I don't know, again, I don't know if it's a question. If I had a camper and I was parking there, how secure is it? I mean, let's think the worst case scenario, like I go down that route. And somebody comes in next to me. I mean, will somebody that's storing in the facilities obviously see these things? Is there a risk? Do you have cameras? I'm just asking.
There is security cameras all over this place.
Okay, thank you.
And it's a keyed access, keypad access, so no one can just get into the site. You have to have the key code in order to be able to get it.
Okay, thank you.
Listen, someone could cut bolt cutters through the fence, but,
Or climb the fence.
yeah, correct.
Thank you.
Really wants to get in. They'll get
Right.
in.
But you got cameras all over the place?
Yes.
Yes.
I just have one question for the people. So you said it could be commercial vehicles, so it could be someone who goes there daily, gets in their vehicle and goes out, rather than someone who's leaving long-term for like a motorhome.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else? Go ahead, Ryan.
Sure. So just a few questions based off of our letter, just looking for some additional testimony.
Ryan, loud.
All right, let me try again. I'm looking for some additional testimony based off of our review letter dated March 14th. First one being item number 8. I think you alluded to some of the condition of the site, but just looking particular. So I think it was your testimony that fencing, the gate, signage, pavement condition, all those things are generally acceptable. The one condition, and I guess I could ask a question more so, was there anything in our letter that you had an issue with as far as conditions, where this one in particular would be if there was any issues with the site as far as pavement condition, concrete, fencing, things of that nature, that it would be replaced at the discretion of the township engineer?
Well, we're not proposing, we won't agree to replacing anything. Everything's in good shape there. If we go through your,
Yeah, but does his memo say that anything got to be replaced? What he's asking.
isn't that what he just said?
Replace.
Where does it say that?
Well,
He just-
repaired.
He just said.
Repaired, not necessarily
Put it this way,
replaced, but
I want to
repaired.
convert his question into, is there anything in his memo that you would object to becoming a condition if the board wanted to grant approval?
We're gonna have to go through item by item,
Go
which I
through
think
item
we
by-
should, we should probably do that the next hearing.
Okay.
There may be issues in there that are tied to the other issue.
I'll put it this way, when you amend the application, you're going to amend the plan. and these guys are going to do a new review, because the new plan is going to show two-phase construction, unless you want to do it all at the same time. Phase one being the outdoor parking of vehicles, and phase two being the construction of the building closest to the road, correct?
Correct.
So there are going to be new review memos.
So for that point, also, Mark had a review on October 27th.
Yeah, that was the former engineer. So the way, what we
Which you have
did,
just mentioned as a supplement, but you
Yes.
didn't bring it up, and he had a lot of issues here too.
Yes,
So I just want to be complete that everything is going to get addressed.
understood.
good point. Go through his. Yes, sir.
Rakesh's report was a supplement to
Right.
the
So
prior
go-
report.
right,
We
so go through
understand
that other
that.
memo also. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any questions online? Professionals, the board members?
I just have one question. So is there a refuse collection bin on site? And will this affect it?
There is a place for refuse storage between the on-site office and the most northerly building. I can't recall if there's actually a refuse container in there.
Show us where it is on the site plan.
The northerly portion of the site.
Sheet 4.
Sheet 4 between the office, the existing office in the northeast corner and the northerly building that's a storage building. That was reserved in the prior approval.
Area on this plan.
Correct.
It's, the dimension of it is.
He asked the question of whether there's a dumpster there or not. I don't know if
It's
there's a dumpster
20
there.
foot 1 by 20 foot 2, correct?
Yes.
So I'm asking you.
I think we're good for tonight.
Well, my question was if this use will further intensify any need for a collection bin.
I didn't hear the question. For what?
My question is, with outdoor storage of commercial vehicles coming in, will there be any disposal of?
Increased, okay, he wants to know if there's an increased need for a dumpster or debris or whatever.
No, the people who are going to be parking there are not going to be able to drop any kind of refuse there. And just the fact that they're overnight parking, that won't generate any additional garbage or recyclables.
He's figuring if someone pulls in from a trip with their camper,
They're not going to be able to
take
do
all the garbage
that.
out and stick it in, or is this going to be, if you have a dumpster there, is going to be a locked fence?
Yeah, they're not going to be, that's for the people who own the place. That's not for residents. That's not for tenants.
Correct. Is it a locked fence around it so that people can't put stuff in the dumpster?
We'll have to get back to you. I don't know if it's a locked fence.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, do we want to?
Just to clarify, that hatched area is actually the one-story masonry building. Isn't that where the office is? That 20.1 by 20.2 hatched area, it has a note that says one-story masonry building. So I think that's the office. Is the refuse area more towards the back where it says gate post?
I'm looking at the prior site plan there, between the office building. That was the intended area for the dumpster.
That's shown on.
I'm hearing it.
Yeah. Correct. There's a gap. That's the gap.
Got it.
On the revised submission, just make it clear, okay? Whatever you're gonna do, just put it on there.
All right. Taylor, do we want to try and figure out a date?
Let's just ask one more time. Anybody else have any questions?
And how much time do you need
Oh.
to make the revisions on the plans?
Yeah,
Because,
that too.
Steve, if you don't
well,
want to,
Actually, first off, hold up on that. We don't have any openings until October.
that gives them enough time, because the board has a 21-day rule so that experts can get reports in not the day of.
or October 17th for a hearing.
Let's put it down to
What's the time to decide?
Okay, well, we have to figure it out.
About October 17th.
Yeah, we could do that. That would be October 17th. And while I'm already looking at it, your current time for the application for the board to act is Halloween, October 31st. So, John, what would you recommend?
Let's get December 31, extend to December 31.
We'll extend to December 31 and I'll forward correspondence.
Okay.
Continue to October 17. Now, let's talk about, Mr. Hanson, when can you get, the sooner you can get the stuff in, then the sooner we can get board reports on. So technically, you have a lot of time, but you don't want to use all that time.
Yeah, so I'll have to talk to our client and let her know what's involved with the additional work.
Just remember.
Then we'll have to get approval for that.
Right, because
If we do get that, then I would expect we could get it in within 3 weeks.
Okay, because the board rules say it's got to be submitted 21 days
Right.
before the meeting. That's,
September 26th.
yeah, okay,
That's plenty of time.
that's the drop dead date. Drop dead submission. Now, while we're on that issue, I believe we have another of Mr. Gruenberg's applications where I think Taylor got an email today from a board engineer saying they were submitting revisions. And what we want to find out is if you don't want to get the board reports the day of the meeting, then you're going to have to extend the hearing because, Taylor, can you put on the record what we're talking about?
Yes. So earlier this afternoon, I received an email from the applicant's engineer
Do you want
for.
to just finish this hearing first so that?
All right, why don't we finish the
Make
hearing
an
first?
announcement,
I thought
just
we
in
did.
case I don't renotice,
All right.
and then I probably will
The
renotice.
bottom line is the hearing in this matter is going to be continued to October 17. They've extended the time to decide to December 31. The drop dead date for resubmissions is September 26th if they want to be heard on October 17. But if they want this phase 2, if they want this amended site plan approval to reapprove basically the former buildings that were on that slab closest to the highway, they're going to have to renotice. If they don't want to do that, then they don't have to renotice. But then there's going to be a discussion about what should happen to that concrete slab if there's not going to be a building on it.
Understood.
Okay. Okay, so that
Now,
closes that.
Can we move on to the next thing that's not on the agenda, but we have Mr. Gruenberg here fortuitously.
Okay, thanks. Good luck.
All right, make sure you save that exhibit, John, for me. Okay. So earlier this afternoon, I received an email correspondence from the Executive Snow application. Their engineer had reached out to me saying that they have revised their plans to all the board professionals' reports, and he wanted to know if he could submit them to us.
And that's a
Your
good thing, by
hearing.
the way. That's a very good thing.
And so this
But the-
application.
Right, the issue is,
The application is scheduled for our next meeting, August 15th. So that's way past the board's 21-day rule.
so if you, right, so if you want the board, you want to ask them to waive the rule, then you can't complain if you get the reports the day of the hearing.
We won't complain.
Is that a promise?
I never complain.
It's on the record.
And you won't ask that night to have the thing continue, correct?
No, we'll proceed forward, because what we've tried to do is address all of the reports, professionals' reports to try and streamline.
I understand, which is a really good thing.
Yeah, so we wouldn't complain and we wouldn't ask for a continuance.
We just wanted to nail that down on the record.
Yeah.
Will there be response letters?
Email. What's that?
Jeff, what?
Will there be response letters as well?
Will there be
In other words, are you gonna
response
submit-
Are
letters?
you going to respond to each and every professional report?
In other words, he wants response letters to make their job easier, so they don't have to look through and figure out what's been changed. He wants a letter to explain what the
The answer is
changes
yes. I've already seen them. They're-
Okay.
And I told Rob to send them today. I said, get them in as soon as possible.
Okay.
Well, I
So
didn't
I've
tell him how
seen-
many
I haven't
copies.
read the response letters to see whether they go per item, but I've seen that there were response letters to engineer, response letter to planner.
Have them go per item.
He did. I just didn't go through each item myself.
Okay. So
Okay.
will the board waive the 21-day rule, hearing that Mr. Grunberg is not going to complain if he gets the reports the day of the hearing, and he's not going to seek an adjournment because the reports came in the day of the hearing?
John, can we have that in writing?
No, we got it
No,
on
you got
tape.
it on the record.
We got it on tape. We good? We're good.
Great, thank you all.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Anybody want to hang around? Okay.
Okay, Jackie, have a nice night.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Yeah, it's only 8:30. No way.